Hey everyone, I'm Chris, aka Fit Vegan Activist. Welcome back to another video. Before I get into the topic of today's video, make sure to subscribe. We're on our way to 200 subscribers, and your support is very much appreciated. So, as you can see, I'm in a hotel room. I just landed last night in Gatwick, and I'm about to head to the vegan campout that's taking place this weekend. It's going to be an amazing experience, and I'm looking forward to it. It's my second time being there, but because of that I'm not gonna have the time to edit and post a new video, so I thought it would be interesting to revisit some of the old content I had created 4 years ago. So as I said in the first video when I restarted this channel, I had experimented with different names and different types of content, and the first name I had used when I started the channel was Vio, so that was 4 years ago during COVID. Since then I've made those videos private, and I was planning to delete them. I wasn't happy with the quality of the videos, but recently I rewatched them and I thought it would be interesting reposting them with a short intro like this to give you more context. And some of the videos are really cringy, really bad quality, but some of them, and the bad videos I'm going to delete, but some of them outside of the quality and the editing and the lighting and the sound that's not really good, the idea and the concept, um, I think I still find it interesting, and to see my way of thinking 4 years ago when I was only 2 years vegan. So I'm gonna start reposting some of these old videos sporadically when I don't have time to keep up with posting a new video or editing a new video. So for this week, I'm going to repost the second ever YouTube video I made back in 2020 with a screenshot of the day that it was first posted, and I'm going to edit it so that it starts right after this introduction. That video was called Are Vegans Brainwashed? Make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Vios. Today this is my second video, and as you could guess from the title, today we're going to talk about vegans being brainwashed. So, are vegans really? Let's find out. First of all, let's talk about veganism. Okay, maybe this is common knowledge for vegans. However, many people that are non-vegan still think that veganism is just a diet. So let me get this out of the way. The definition of veganism is this. Veganism is a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. Second, fact about nutrition. According to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is the largest organization of food and nutrition professionals in the world, it is not necessary to consume animal products to be healthy. And this is their statement. Appropriately planned vegan diets are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefits in the prevention and treatment of certain diseases, and they are adequate for all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, and for athletes. So now we know what veganism is, and we also know that it's not necessary to consume animal products to survive. Let me say another thing about vegans. As you can imagine from the definition, vegans also do not wear leather jackets or any other clothing that might come from animals. They do not go to zoos, aquariums. They do not go to the circus. They do not ride horse carriages. I'm just mentioning it because it's a popular tradition here in Malta. They wouldn't ride a donkey in Santorini if they were having a holiday in Santorini in Greece, and any other form of animal exploitation. They do not buy cosmetics that have been tested on animals or have animal ingredients in them. They avoid animal products and buying and or contributing to animal exploitation in all forms. Okay, and I'm also mentioning this because many people you might have heard people that are not vegan protesting, for example, the horse carriages here in Malta or the donkey riding in Santorini because they claim that it's cruel. And I agree to that. It's not necessary, it's a cruel tradition, and I think it needs to stop. However,
Vegans concentrate, and you might have heard vegan activists talk about food mainly because it's the largest form of animal exploitation. The cruelty and suffering that these animals undergo is a million times worse than what happens to the animals, for example, the horse carriages or the donkey riding. And the scale of it is unfathomable. Okay, so that's why vegans focus mainly on food, and that's why many people might think that veganism is all about food. Okay, now a fact about vegans. The majority of vegans, myself included, were not raised vegan. We were all raised as omnivores, meaning we were told by our parents, by school, by society, and by the food industry that it's normal and necessary to consume animal products. Another word for that might be called conditioning or indoctrination. All the truth that we receive as kids growing up comes from these institutions. You might have seen the movie Truman Show or Dogtooth, which is a Greek movie, and they go in depth about this form of conditioning. And I recommend that you watch them because they're awesome movies and very thought provoking. As I said, the majority of vegans were not raised vegan. However, the same institutions that I mentioned before told us that we should treat animals, and this goes mainly for pets, with respect and kindness. I knew growing up that I should never kick a dog or abuse a cat. I knew that it was wrong. Now, this is an obvious contradiction. However, we were raised to ignore that contradiction and to think that it's normal to love and care some animals and care about some animals, like dogs, cats, or pets, and disregard and completely ignore the pain and suffering that these animals go through, the other animals that we consider as food before they arrive on our plate. And of course, we were never exposed to the procedure of how these animals are being processed before they arrive on our plate. All we ever saw, and what we keep seeing until this day, is a massive marketing effort by the animal agriculture industry to maintain these myths and lies in order to perpetuate the suffering of these animals for the sake of monetary profit. The only ones that show you the truth of what goes on in the animal agriculture industry are animal rights activists. And they are labeled as extremists for doing that. Most of us would never harm an animal if our survival wasn't directly depending on it. Yet the majority of people have absolutely no problem paying somebody else to do it for them. Now, let's check out the definition of brainwash. I'm going to read it for you. Definition of brainwashing: a forcible indoctrination to induce someone to give up basic political, social, or religious beliefs and attitudes and to accept contrasting regimented ideas. Or persuasion by propaganda or salesmanship. Okay, now I can see based on that definition why someone might think that vegans are brainwashed and why they're trying to persuade other people to go vegan. However, you have to understand that vegans are people just like you. I'm talking now, obviously, to non vegans that grew up believing all of these things, all of that conditioning, and at some point decided that it's not necessary and they decided to align their actions with their innate belief and feeling that animals have the right to live free of suffering and exploitation. I don't want to turn this into a debate about health, so I will not claim that a plant-based diet is the optimal for human health, even though there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that proves otherwise. And there are many vegan athletes that are crushing it on the highest level. By the way, if you haven't watched The Game Changers, go watch it. It's an amazing movie. And I am personally on the best shape of my life at 36 years old, being 2 years vegan on a plant-based diet and working out. This is my before after photo of 2 years vegan transformation. I will make a separate video about my vegan transformation. However, I will not claim this because there are many debates that may take place on this topic. So the question is this: if you can be equally healthy, and it's proven that you can be equally healthy on a plant-based vegan diet, and the only sacrifice you have to make is that you have to take a B12 supplement and be a little bit more careful about planning your diet, but in the process of doing that, saving animal lives, why would you still choose not to? And let's be honest, this is a sad truth, but most people don't really care about their health. Many people smoke, many people abuse alcohol, many people do drugs, even though they know the catastrophic consequences of those habits to their health. However, most of the time, when somebody brings up veganism, all of a sudden, people that don't really care about their health and that have these, unhealthy habits suddenly become super conscious and concerned about their health and what will happen to them if they go vegan. This is not because they sincerely care about their health, but it's in reality resistance to change because of conditioning. That's why I do not advocate for veganism for health, even though it might be considered a big plus. It should be mainly about animal rights and the right that animals should have to live their life free of suffering and exploitation. On his famous speech, pioneer animal rights activist Gary Yourofsky, by the way, if you haven't seen the speech of Gary Yourofsky, I will leave a link and a card so you can go and check it out. It's very powerful and inspiring. Said that the four reasons that people consume meat, milk, cheese, and eggs are these: habit, tradition, convenience, and taste. Now, imagine if in any other context you would choose to use these four reasons as an excuse to justify unethical behavior that we as a society have rules and laws to condemn and avoid. Okay, let's quickly go over these four reasons and try to wrap this video up because it's becoming a longer video than I expected and I don't want to make it super long. Number one, habit. One could say that a serial killer has the habit of killing people and the rapist has the habit of raping women. Would we excuse that behavior just because it's their habit and it's something that they've been doing repeatedly over time? No. Number two, tradition. Over the course of history, humanity has had many, many horrible and cruel traditions that we eventually grew out of. One major example of such a tradition is slavery. Just because something unjust and cruel is tradition, and we've been doing it for thousands of years, doesn't mean we have to continue doing it. Some say that if we didn't eat meat and if we didn't exploit animals, we wouldn't have evolved the way we did. And I understand that logic. But it's no longer necessary since today we have other options and the technology to live without exploiting animals. We can recognize and acknowledge that it might have been a necessary stepping stone in human evolution and civilization. However, we can also recognize that it's no longer necessary and that we can stop doing it and still continue to live and thrive. To tie this up with slavery, in ancient Greece, for example, one big monument of humanity is the Parthenon. The Parthenon was most likely built by slaves. Now, in modern times, we recognize that slavery is cruel and not necessary. However, for that point of history, in that era, it was socially acceptable. And it can also be considered a stepping stone in the evolution of humanity. We still acknowledge and admire the Parthenon as an achievement of humanity. However, we are all very much aware that most likely this achievement that we all admire was built by slaves, and still we condemn slavery in modern day. This is the exact same analogy and logic we can use for animals. It's no longer necessary to exploit animals, so we can stop doing it and we can abolish it the same way we abolished slavery. Number three, convenience. Now, just because something is convenient for somebody should not be an excuse to commit unethical actions. For example, one might say that it's convenient to abuse his child because it's easier for him to discipline the child and it's easier for him to make the child listen to him. Would we approve that practice just because it's convenient to the one that commits it? We can use that same logic with domestic abuse. It might be easier and more convenient for the husband who is physically stronger than his wife to beat her up and abuse her in case they have an argument or a disagreement. It's more convenient for sure for the one that commits the act. Does it make it socially acceptable? And would we approve that behavior? Or do we condemn that behavior and realize that just because it's convenient for the person that commits it, it's not right? Same way with eating animals and animal exploitation. It might be convenient and easier for us to do it just because we've been doing it for 1,000 years. However, it's no longer necessary and we can stop doing it. Even though it's convenient for us, we can recognize that an animal's life is more important than our convenience. And finally, taste. This is one of the most common excuses that people use. They understand where their food comes from. They're fully conscious that it's cruel and unnecessary. However, it just tastes too good. So, if we apply the same logic that if it tastes too good, then it's morally acceptable to continue doing it. There are reports of people that practice cannibalism of serial killers, and the reports say that it's that human flesh, human meat, tastes like pork. So that means tastes good. Is it morally acceptable and okay to eat humans just because their flesh tastes good? And the same thing goes, for example, with other cultures in China. I'm sure the Chinese think that dog meat tastes delicious and it's a delicacy over there. Is it still morally acceptable to consume dog meat just because it tastes good? And many people in the Western world realize this and demand the shutdown of these dog markets in China. Final point about taste. Nowadays, it's been easier and tastier than ever to go vegan. There are many vegan alternatives to all of the tastes that we are used to. Uh, meat that tastes like meat, like chicken, like beef, like pork, all of those tastes that we are accustomed to. And it's easier than ever to go vegan if your only barrier and the only thing that stops you is taste. I personally feel that I enjoy food now much more than I used to do when I wasn't vegan, and I can eat that as much as I want without ever feeling bloated or having indigestion, which is something that I suffered a lot when I used to eat meat. Final thoughts. If you're not vegan, please know that I am not trying to judge you or tell you that you are a bad person for not being vegan. You might be the most compassionate person ever. You might be fighting for another cause. You might be contributing to your community. You might be helping others. You might be doing all sorts of amazing things. And I'm not trying to take anything away from you. However, the sad truth is that when it comes to animals and animal cruelty, if you are not vegan, then you are knowingly or unknowingly or unconsciously participating in the worst kind of animal cruelty that goes on in the world, and that is mainly the animal agriculture industry for food. Hopefully, by watching this video, you are inspired to try a new approach and a new way of thinking. If you want to do that, the easiest way is to sign up for Challenge 22, which is a 22-day vegan challenge, and I am personally a mentor there. And it's a Facebook group. I will leave a link in the description below. You can sign up and try 22 days of veganism. The people over there are super supportive and positive. Go check it out, and I might see you there. If you are vegan, be proud of it. You are a revolutionary for choosing to live this way in a non-vegan world. You opened your eyes to the truth and you went against social indoctrination and conditioning. Don't be afraid to say you're vegan. The animals need you to speak up for them, and I encourage you to join your local animal rights organization and support the movement. Finally, before I close, a few words of motivation. A few days ago, I posted on my social media a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that goes like this: "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward." I want to paraphrase this quote a bit, and it goes something like this. First, you must crawl. Then, you must walk. Then, you must run. And then you can fly. But nothing will happen if you never start. Go after your dreams. Take that first step. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is the only guaranteed way to success. That's it for today, guys. Take care, and until the next video, seek truth and spread love and positivity. See you on the next one.